Hello and welcome to another Clubs and Corks Golf podcast. Luke Taylor here. Bernice has joined us. She's looking nice. Looks like she got dressed up for the occasion.
Did, yeah.
Yeah. Ben Curtis back in the saddle.
Good to be here.
We got a fun guest here.
Oh yeah, we do.
We got what I love about our guests, we kind of tap on every side of golf, not just players like you or wannabe players like me, but don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Give us the thumbs up. Come on, give us a thumbs up. Thumbs up. Your hands are getting kind of dry. It's getting kind of cooler.
It's getting cold out.
I know, it's awful. So this guest attended Yale and Harvard. He received the 2004 Old Thomas Award from the Golf Course Superintendent Association of America, GCSAA's highest honor. We got Rees Jones.
Yeah.
I got you.
You're naughty. The Harvard part got me.
I got you. So we have Robert Trent Jones. I just like to pull. I knew he had a sense. That's why I assumed he was going to laugh. But we got Robert Trent Jones, and you designed and built. Have you ever played this course? I wonder if you ever played this course. Moscow Country Club. He's built a course in Russia.
Yeah, I've never been to Russia, so I have not played it.
Really?
Yeah.
How was that? What was that like building a golf course in Russia?
Let's put it this way. It was probably the hardest thing I ever did in my life because it took 20 years. I went over there first with my dad, and he didn't like the food, so he gave up pretty quickly.
He's like, "Here, Robert, it's yours."
So you went to Yale, like your brother, but you didn't go to Harvard. You went to Stanford. Were you not smart enough to get into Harvard, or you just like you like the warm weather better?
You're either a Yale or you're Harvard. You can't be both. You got to choose, man. It's like one of the skins or shirts. And Stanford, of course, was on the West Coast, and I had liked to play golf, and the weather was better here, so that seemed like a better place to go for me. It was an adventure in 1960 when I did that.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Maybe so. You're the smarter brother.
Well, you decide. I may be I say I'm more the adventuresome brother. I'm an East Coast guy who went west and just kept going west. The game was moving west, was following the sun, literally. California was booming. My dad said that's the place to be. So I apprenticed him here when he was at the height of his career at Spyglass Hill in Mauna Kea. That's in Hawaii. And then I just went to Japan and Far East, and they just kept following the sun, and I had a great time.
That's awesome. Yeah, because you worked with your dad, right out of school, and then you became president of the West Coast Division. Is that right?
Yeah. In those days, it wasn't a great number of golf architects. My father was the preeminent one.
Right.
My mother told me I had to get a real job because this thing that he did wasn't going to last. It was a cottage industry. So that's actually why I went to Stanford Law School for 1 year, but I didn't want to argue with those guys. They'd say that was not my life. So it was a business career. I learned a little bit about business and then apprenticed him for 10 years here on the West Coast.
So what's it like working for your dad? Was that different or unique, or you similar in a lot of ways? Or
I think Rees would attest to this as well. If you go to Harvard and if you go to Yale, Harvard as he did, or Yale and Stanford as I did, I can assure you, our father was the toughest professor I ever had. He was not easy.
That's great.
And he was our father, so he gets to say it like it is.
Yeah. Did you ever want to change your name?
No, actually, I am the original Robert Trent Jones. My dad's name was actually Robert Jones, and he added the Trent in order to distinguish himself from in his school days when he was winning championships up in Rochester, New York, upstate New York. They'd say, "Oh, you're Rochester's Bobby Jones. You need a middle name." Well, his school friend said, "Bobby Jones has a middle name. It's Tyre. Where are you from?" Well, my grandfather came from somewhere near the River Trent. Said, "Well, near the River Trent." So, okay, that's your middle name. So, anyway, there you go. That's how it happened.
Can you imagine going to Alabama and playing the Robert Jones Trail?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going actually in March. I mean, can you imagine the Robert? Hi, where are you going to play? I'm going to go play the Robert Jones Trail.
Yeah,
I think
it has a good ring to it. It has a good ring to it. For sure.
I was just in Alabama, and I did play the Robert Trent Jones Trail, part of it with a group of Raiders from Golf Week. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Now, how involved were you with that trail? Because we just actually had, which is going to come out after your episode, is Robert Broner, Dr. Broner. We had him on the podcast, which is really was fascinating to say the least, because he's the kind of the I don't want to say the architects your dad was, but the kind of the person behind building
was,
8 courses at once, which is amazing to me. You couldn't do that nowadays.
Yeah.
I was not involved architecturally. I at that time, it was just after our mother passed away. She was the business person in our family from the earliest days. Reese and I would have to go wash the dishes after, and she'd go send out the bills after dinner. So at that time, I'd been successful, and I helped organize the business aspect. We got the bondings and so on. And I went by a couple of times, but we all supported my dad in his older age. And Roger Rulovich was the primary designer who helped him. But it was really his work at the end of his career.
So do you get to play free golf because you have the same name?
The best things in life are free.
Yeah. So they say. That's what my wife says, but I've been married for 16 years and, whatever.
Well, I have been married a little longer. Next week, it'll be 60 years with my wife.
Oh, wow.
God, how'd she do it?
She's a saint. She's going directly to heaven. I'm not sure where I'm headed. But,
yeah. We won't answer that question where you're headed. So you've played some of his courses, obviously.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, mostly, Poppy, Spanish, Cordoval, which actually we had dinner there several years ago when the tour event was there up at the winery there. I remember you came and we sat down and talked a little bit. So that's a great course. I love that. What I notice about a lot of your courses too, and the ones that I played, they're very scenic, right? Maybe it's just because of the ones I played.
You think they see that in Moscow at Moscow Country Club?
Yeah. Maybe not. I haven't been there, but
it is pretty. It's in a deep forest. So it's not bad. Good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so I mean, I've always enjoyed your work and your courses. Some of the Westfield, I believe, in Columbus here. That I grew up not too far from there, so I played that several times. It's just so what going through your career and looking back, is there anything or any course or project that you thought you had that you wish you had, or you kind of regret that you didn't get that you wanted to be a part of? Is there any of those? Or?
Well, like Frank Sinatra's song, I did it my way, and I had a few regrets. We compete. We're all competitive golfers, and golf is 2 aspects of it. There's the game, which we all play. I played for Yale. I played serious competitive golf as a young man. So I'm on the attack side. Then you turn around and get on the design side. You're actually like a goalkeeper. You're in the net. You're on the team, but nobody's talking to you. But anyway, so we compete for projects as well, and we were grateful to get the job for Chambers Bay. That was a competition with 50 other architects. And
how many?
50.
There's that many?
Yeah, there were, because it was in public works. Everybody's allowed to compete. They narrowed it down pretty quickly to about 8. But anyway, I've wished I had a couple of things. I would have liked to have done one of the courses at Bandon Dunes or Santa because those are beautiful sites. So we kill for the site, and if the owner is like-minded, we'll do our best to help them.
Yeah. So I've played the Raven at Sabano Springs.
That's good.
I know. I liked it. Now it's called Arizona National.
I don't name them, and they keep
changed it. They changed it, and that was a great course. I've played Spanish Bay, which I really liked. And I've played Poppy Hills, and there's kind of a common theme between Poppy Hills and Spanish Bay. Now, are you involved as the architect designer on where you put bathrooms on the course?
Only for the ladies. They're very vocal that they want more bathrooms and more often opportunities to use them.
Yeah. So I only played 15 holes of Spanish Bay, and I played 18 holes of Poppy Hills. I had to leave the course and come back. I had the stomach flu that was passed down, and it hit me on the golf course at Poppy Hills. And I'll be honest, it was the first time I've ever crapped myself, and I still played. And that's why I ask. I mean, that I'll never forget. They started us on this 3rd hole at Poppy Hills, and we're on 18. And I have never wanted to go like I wish the cart had a Ferrari engine in it. And then it just kind of went to Spanish Bay too. So I've only played 15 of the holes at Spanish Bay, but both spectacular designs. I'll have to go back. I wonder if they'll give me a discount because I've only probably not Pebble Beach. Let's be honest.
Pebble Beach Company. I think they banned discounts. I don't know, but
Yeah. There's no replay rates at Pebble Beach either.
I just played a Spanish Bay with Amy Alcott, who's a good friend. We played together about a month ago. Hadn't played it in many years, and it's looking good. Come on back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was there a couple of years ago. I love that. I love that place. I love the hotel too. It's the best place to stay on property, I think, inside the gates there, in my opinion. But so how much are you still really involved with the business, or are you kind of taking a step back? I know, is it your son working for you now too?
Yeah, my son, we call him Trent Jones, back to
Right.
Trent. Keep the generation straight. He runs the business. Bruce Charlton has been with me 40 years. He's my number one design guy. We have other designers, Mike Warman and Mark Voss, and we have some wonderful shapers that are loosely attached. And it's a collaborative business, and it always is. And we actually try to collaborate with the owner, who often is a quite opinionated golfer, and it's his land. So we try to help him.
We've heard that before. Remember Tom Doak?
Yeah. So, I mean, the business obviously changed a lot with technology, right? Over the last several years. Is that a challenge, or is that something that you really enjoy? I know Tom, then he mentioned he likes to get the paper out and kind of draw, so for you, what do you like about it the most?
So I've done all the skills. Some golf designers or architects, maybe they're come out of the shaping side, or let's say the construction side, some out of the superintending side of the business, and they're very skilled at that. Some are excellent players, professionals, including like Jack Nicklaus and some of the younger great players who suddenly decide to take up design. But to be honest, you have to have all that knowledge. You have to have done that job.
Right.
It'd be like being the manager of a great hotel. You have to have been able to clean the rooms, check people in, get the kitchen up. You got to do all of them to really be a comprehensive designer at one point in your career. And then you have your own visions. And my visions began when I left my father in the early 70s and did the course at Princeville Mackay, which is a place I have a beach house and still go there. Dan Jenkins called, then you come to the last paved road in America, where those waterfalls fall straight into surfing waves. And you start the hole on a horseback and you finish it in a motorboat. There's so many lakes. And then you go have a Mai Tai and toast the sunset, which would awaken the soul of a mummy.
When we going?
Yeah.
Come on over.
Yeah.
God, sorry, honey. I got to go to Hawaii without you.
So we had that. That was our first project. I'd done some work at Silverado under his banner, Silverado South. That was my first work. Mm-hmm. The owner wanted it. It was right after Spyglass Hill, which was considered very tough. Nicholas thought it was too tough, and some of the other pros in the AT&T. I played in the AT&T, and I thought it was pretty tough. But
it's the hardest out there.
Spyglass.
Here's a question for you. You've played all those courses. Most people that I think are excellent players like yourself, they kind of rate Spyglass as a player's course. What do you think?
I think so, because you got to hit every shot in the book, and it's got everything there, right? It's got dog legs, elevation, tree lined, right? Pebbles kind of just out in the open. It's a great golf course, but it's more exposed, I guess. So it's just a different style, but it is. But that's what I think makes Spyglass hard, because you can miss a fairway at Pebble and get away with it. You can't do that at Spyglass, right? Because you got the trees, you got dog legs, you might not have a good angle.
Well, remember the story I told you? The one time I played it, we had this caddy named Ron, and Ron had as much enthusiasm as my left toe on my right foot. And he's like the guy, he was caddying for the other group, the other two, and the guy hits a bad shot hits a shot, hits the green and falls off. He says, "Welcome to the glass." And I'm like, those greens are fast.
Well,
I mean, they just just from, because you got to remember when I went there, it's February, March. I had golf balls really since October, November.
Right. And you just have to, there's no give up, and you have to, like when you shoot in the 60s there, you've done you've done what you're, if you shoot in the 60s, it just doesn't happen very often. You're very proud.
You didn't
of
make
it.
the cut there one time.
Hmm.
You said it was the most expensive round you ever played.
Yeah, well, that's true.
So we like to say, since I live in Northern California,
Right.
we have great golf here, some great golf rounds
Right.
here.
Mhm.
Great golf at Pebble Beach. We say Pebble Beach is the Vatican of golf. It's like the Pope has asked Michelangelo to do the Sistine Chapel, that's Cypress Point. And another Pope asked my father to do Spyglass. The Pope asked Tom Watson and me to do Spanish Bay. Another Pope. So you got all these different golf courses. Each one is really different from each other, but all great pieces of golf art because the site is so good and it's a real golf place to be.
Yeah, but you know what he did? You know what? He doesn't pay $600 to play Pebble Beach. Just saying.
For $1,000 a room, right?
Yeah. I will tell you, and I liked Spanish Bay better than Spyglass.
Well, thank you. That's really.
I really, and I'm not, and I've told you this.
Yeah.
I've talked about it. I think Spyglass has the first, what is it? The best 6 starting holes you'll ever see, and then it goes inland. Where Spanish Bay, the thing I liked that you could always hear, smell, or see the sea or the ocean. Sorry, not the sea,
Right.
but the ocean. But I didn't play 3 holes, so whatever. What do I know?
Well, I actually agree with you. I think where great land and great water meet, that's where great golf can happen. Whether it's Pebble Beach or Spyglass or Spanish, the early holes in Spyglass or Spanish Bay. But anyway, we've done other courses too around the world, and I have some news for you. The course we did in Ruokoski, Finland, of all places. Which here's a picture of in my poetry book of. If you can see this.
Oh, nice.
Playing golf at midnight on June 21st, midnight, because it's so far north, has just been named for the 2024 World Men's and Women's Intercollegiate Championship. So in these remote places, the game is getting major competitive events.
Yeah, that's awesome.
When we going?
Yeah, I'm ready. I've never been to Finland.
Me
So let's
neither.
go.
I've always wanted to go.
Play golf at midnight. You don't have to turn the lights on.
I know.
That's great.
I know. You want to ask him a question?
Yeah.
I'm letting you talk this time.
Sorry, go ahead, Luke.
No. I mean, you've done so many projects. It looks, across the world.
Over 250.
Yeah, 250, but predominantly overseas, which was I was quite surprised with when I was going through your courses. I couldn't believe the number of courses you did outside of America. Is
You like to travel.
anything that really surprised you about that? And where is the next, I guess, hot spot for golf outside of America?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Well, as I said, I was an adventurer, and I apprenticed my father literally just after the jet plane came in fashion. Pan American Airlines changed the world, literally. And in those days, and after World War II, when my dad was at his height of his career through the 60s, the plane wasn't really that effective. I mean, there were planes, but the Americans had won the war, and the rest of the world was recovering from World War II. So it wasn't that much. He first did work at Soto Grande. That was a big jump to do any course in Europe. But the plane, man, I actually had a pilot's license, so I loved to fly. So
that's
I did anything that was moving. Some people used to accuse me that I go down to the airport, San Francisco airport, and I would look at the schedules of all the planes, and I use it as a menu. And I'd say, "Where's the next flight?" And they'd say, "Well, where are you going?" I said, "No, the next flight anywhere." And I get on it.
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome.
Anyway, so I spent a lot of time, particularly in Asia. We did 85 projects in Asia at the time when nation building was happening. They had a World Cup in Thailand in 1975, which Johnny Miller won, my friend from this area. Right. Another one in Indonesia, another one in New Zealand, another one in Princeville, Kauai. So we've had 5 World Cups, most all of them in Asia Pacific venues. So that was my beat. And then all of a sudden, there was this Russia thing, like nobody was going to Russia. I said, I'll go, and that was an experience.
Did you have to compete for that bid, or they just gave it to you because you're willing to show up?
Nobody wanted to go.
Really?
No, it wasn't really a bid because the Russians at that time thought golf was a capitalist English sport. It took 5 years to get past that problem. Among other things, Alistair Cook came to our help. He said, "Bobby, do you know that basically I can help you with these ideologues. It's not a capitalist English sport. Adam Smith and Karl Marx both play golf. I said, Karl Marx played golf, founder of Communism. Yeah, he did. When he's writing his treatise, Das Kapital, in the University of London, he'd go out in Hyde Park and have a hit. We're not sure about Adam Smith, but he was a Scot, so he must have played golf. I took that back to the ideologue and through the ambassador. I said, okay, it's not an English capitalist sport. It's a Scottish agrarian sport. Go, you can do it. That was the kind of stuff we had to overcome.
So, I mean, how long did you spend there? Did you go multiple times or did you just
Many
go
times.
a couple of times? Yeah.
It was long, it was a mission. It was like a marathon. Went with Dr. Hammer, Armin Hammer. He was the introducer. My father and I went by the 19, just before 79, they went into Afghanistan. We did not participate in the Moscow Olympics. They did not participate in the LA Olympics. So there was a 6-year hiatus of any sport exchanges. Then when Gorbachev came to power, they dusted it off. And George Shultz called up, who's the secretary, said, Bob, we need to get that golf course going again. So we did. And then the Soviet Union collapsed and became Russia. So typical, they forgot to pay their last bill, but they gave me a medal.
Yeah. That was my next question. Hopefully you got paid for that over that 20-year period.
Do you charge interest?
Yes. You don't charge anything in Russia. You might lose something else like your head.
Do you ever do much work in Canada, my homeland of Canada?
Oh, which part of Canada?
Oakville.
Okay. Yeah, my daughter is a Canadian. Our daughter Holly married a Canadian. They live in Toronto.
Nice.
Both my grandchildren have 3 passports, English as well. So yeah, we've done work at Chateau Whistler, where the Olympics was, which is a glorious place. And we've done work in Calgary called Glencoe, 45 holes. So there, one of them is grade 18. They've had a Canadian PGA there, one in Ottawa, and that's about it. But I love Canada. Great golf there.
I do too. I like visiting it.
Yeah.
That's about it. Just
You
like
like
visiting
going
it.
home,
Yeah,
right?
I like
Visiting
going to see my mom and my dad.
It's getting warmer. It's getting warmer.
Yeah.
in Canada.
Well, amongst other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has a lot of trees as well.
Amongst a lot of trees. We got a lot of trees and.
Well, it's a lot
water.
like America, right? I mean, in a ways, you
No,
got
it's not.
flat. It's cold year round, right?
Well, I think the sun comes up once in a while. My parents live in an igloo, if you didn't know that. That was the thing. I went to school in Arkansas for 2 years, and I'd be like,
where in Arkansas?
Russellville, Arkansas Tech.
Right.
Played sports down there, and I'll never forget. I saw these trucks, and I'm from the suburb of Toronto, in a nice suburb of Toronto, so I never saw no one just a pickup truck. I said, "Wow, you guys have a lot of pickup trucks." Guy looks me straight in the eye, says, "Well, what do you guys drive in Canada?" I'm like, "Cars."
Yeah.
But you did the blessings, right?
We
In
did.
Arkansas. Yep.
Yeah. Actually, John Tyson, who is a great lover, great patron of the game, and he's still tweaking it. I'd say we were actually co-designers with Mr. Tyson. He had he wanted a strict examination of golf, and we gave him a hard golf course because that's what he wanted.
Yeah. Does he have really good?
Tell the intercollegiates, and I think it worked out well.
Yeah.
Stanford, one of my alma maters, won. So they invited me to come to their celebration, and they were happy that maybe I designed it. Maybe they had a little advantage. Actually, they just played great golf.
Yeah. Did they have really good chicken wings there?
They did. John Tyson has the best.
Yeah. Chicken fingers and chicken wings. That's a little paid advertisement for Tyson chicken. Hey, we're going to take a quick break with Bob. We'll be right back. The Robert Keenan Winery, located in the historic Spring Mountain of the Napa Valley. Celebrate the best round you ever had, or get over your sorrows after the snowman at number 18. Drown yourself in one of the 14,000 cases per year they produce. Combine the dedication of experienced winemakers with a commitment to excellence. The Robert Keenan Winery has distinguished itself as a maker of exceptional wines in limited varietals and quantity. Wines for sipping, wines for enjoying, wines for enhancing any occasion. In the last 8 vintages, 42 wines have been rated between 90 and 97 points by Robert Parker Jr. As a special thank you, use code Clubs and Corks, all uppercase, and receive 20% off your next order with Keenan Winery. They are golfers just like me and me. Not like you, because you're decent.
Sometimes.
You're decent. So what state, I'm going to take his question. What state have you not worked in?
Well, between my father, my brother, and myself, we worked in, I think, 48 states. The two that are missing are Mississippi for some reason and South Dakota. I may have to give it away in South Dakota, but Mississippi, we should be able to eventually work there. So that's our family history.
Wow. They play golf in Mississippi, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
The women's won the old Miss one 2 years ago, or last year won the women's college.
And being so close, so especially on the golf side, right? You got the golf so close to New Orleans as well, and there's a lot of, I guess, resorts, the casinos down there with some courses.
Biloxi.
Which I'm
Wherever
surprised.
there's a casino, we will not be far behind.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
you know why you might never build a course in Mississippi? There's probably the main reason why is because you built pretty much every damn golf course in Alabama.
Well,
Yeah.
it might have
And
something to do with
Mississippi
it.
and Alabama, just saying.
Well, you better ask Mr. Bronner. I don't think that would stop him. If they offer him good land, he'll show up.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I still can't believe he wanted to build 8 courses at once.
Yeah, it was actually Dr. Bronner's idea, as expressed to my father through and Bobby Vaughn, who was his aide de camp, who was out of my dad and he become friends in North Carolina on a project. They wanted to change the image of Alabama. At that time, in the late 80s and early 90s, Alabama was kind of truly a backwater. People drove through Alabama from Illinois to get to Florida. They didn't stop. So his idea was to up the image. And I think Robert Trent Jones Trail did exactly that. It's not just 8 courses, it's 8 projects. There are 2 courses at each of the projects.
Right.
So
Right.
There's the 20 projects we had the par 3s in, 20 courses. So
Right.
it's a lot of golf.
Well, you got Capitol Hill, they got 3. Grand National, you have 2. I mean, and then they have the short course at
It's
Grand
like
National
400
too.
some golfers. So
458, I think.
yeah,
And
that's a lot of golf.
And believe me, I just was in Alabama. It's beloved by the people of Alabama. This was the funds were from the pension funds. I think it was the teachers and other pension funds. So they were wondering, what is this guy doing with our money, putting in golf courses? Well, it turned out to be a great financial success for the pension fund.
I think the teachers are still saying that.
Well, some of them are playing there for free, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You should be a teacher in Alabama.
So with all the technology changes in golf, is there anything that you would like to see change? As you know, being a designer, you can't build a 6,800, 7,000 yard golf course anymore. I mean, is there something that you would love to see change in the game?
Yeah, this is an endless discussion between attack and defense. And if you think of the great defenders of castles, when gunpowder was invented, they stopped using boiling water and they invented moats. So we have to keep thinking of new defenses.
Right.
Now, most people think you just make the course longer and longer. Well, eventually you run out of somebody else's property. You can't do that.
Right.
So I had a suggestion in the year 2000 to ban the wooden tee from the tee. Just drop the ball, take out your big headed driver and try to hit it. And I'll put a bunker 50 yards in front. Some of the best players in the world will hit it in there because of top. That was one simple way.
Suggestion. Yeah.
That club's going out of business.
Yeah.
So ban the wooden tee from the tee would be a simple rule change. Then the other thing I would prohibit would be chainsaws. We're cutting too many trees down in many of the golf courses, clear cutting in some places like Oakland.
Right.
And I think that's an endless debate. My granddaughter lectures me, Granddad, you can't cut the trees down. You know, those are carbon sinks. And they have the community as a whole, they're the lungs of the city. So we need more careful programmatic issues on trees and either all or nothing, in my opinion. Those are because trees are actually vertical hazards. Yes, they do grow, and yes, they have a lifespan, but they can be managed properly. You don't need to just eliminate them because the superintendent essentially doesn't like it because of turf grass. It gets pretty hot in the summer in congressional, and you need some shade too.
Yeah. Yeah, because we had Larry Napora. He's the superintendent at Firestone, and he says your trees are not shades your enemy, right?
Yeah,
You're
shades
not
your enemy.
friend.
Yeah.
But I could see sometimes it works in your favor too. Is there so you finish a project? How many times do you go back and a month later and realize, oh, that wasn't a good idea, or I should have done this and maybe added something? Does that happen quite a bit or no? I mean,
well, normally they say we paid you and you're done. So you try to.
Great.
We have something before it opens, even before we plant it, called a dirt open, Bruce Charlton, my partner, kind of invented it. We go out with a doormat and a golf ball, and we play literally in the dirt shots into shaped greens. And we try to figure out with the good players, excellent players like yourselves, good shots, and women players too. And we play sometimes backwards to figure out where we should put their tee or let them choose their own tee. The women, that started at Century World in 1980. When they had women play, a couple of women good players play. Let's say it was a drive and a 5-iron average on the site. So they would play 5 irons, 100 of them backwards from the center of the green, and then that would quick pattern. And then they had an arc of say 220 yards off the tee, and they would choose their own tee. We did not choose it; the women chose their own tee, but with that idea that the trajectory of the approach shot would be similar to what a men's shot did for an expert player. So there's been a lot of ways to adjust to the game as it changes and as more different people play. As it's now it's gender neutral. We don't have ladies tees, men's tees, and championship tees. We have forward tees, regular tees, club tees, and back tees. So the game has changed quite a bit.
Now, do you work when you design? Do you work from the back forward, or do you work middle to back? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like middle, amateurs, or do you look backwards all the way in?
Every year that I get a little older, I work more forward.
I love it.
Actually, that's a very. I'm a designer. We're in the Jones School is strategic. Think of Pine Valley as penal. I'm a member there. It's penal. You miss a shot, you're going to lose a shot. You're going to lose the whole thing probably because you hit it at some huge sandy waste or a lake. So we think of alternative routes. Expert players tend to think from this, and who turn designers, such as Jack Nicklaus or Weisskopf, tend to think from the center out. I tend to think from the periphery in, because that's where I hit the golf ball. I want to figure out a way to get back.
Right.
So it's more not so much distance, it's width that we think about.
Gotcha.
That's interesting. Yeah, that is interesting. What designer would you say you're most kind of alike or aligned with?
I think, like the Irish say, I'm my own self, but
he's not going to answer the question.
But over time, I admire other work. Artists take care of artists in the fine arts. They can borrow from them as great. I write poetry for fun, as you may know. But T.S. Eliot, when accused of plagiarizing a young person's line, said, "Sir, why did you borrow his lines? Borrow? Hell, I stole them. Good poets borrow, great poets steal." So, so we will maybe admire a shape or a shot value and be inspired by it. For example, this is a minor pet peeve of mine. There's no golden age of golf architecture. Grantland Rice said there was a golden age of sport. That was the 1920s. All sports, football, the Four Horsemen, golf, Bobby Jones, etc. So that's a retrospective point of view. But of those architects at that time, Tillinghast is the one I like to play his courses, whether it's Wingfoot or San Francisco Golf Club, where I'm a member, because the bunkers are in the right place. You miss a shot, you're in it, or if you have the daring to carry it and you hit the shot, you're rewarded and exhilarated carrying it. Whereas, and I don't say this with any disrespect, Mackenzie's bunkers were extraordinarily stylish on glorious pieces of land like Augusta and Cypress Point and Pasatiempo, but they were often in odd locations. As a player, some of the bunkers just, I'm talking about fairway bunkers, were not there. Right. And then secondly, he had back to front greens. You never want to be as a putter above the hole on a Mackenzie course. Whereas Tillinghast, you had to play to a position on the green if you played Wingfoot in order to handle those contours. So I admire his work and am inspired by it quite often, Tillinghast.
That's cool. That was my problem with Pasatiempo. I wish you would have given me that information a couple of years ago.
Watch out for those bunkers.
Yeah. And that's true. I mean,
50 yards off the tee.
Well, yeah.
Well, they're beautiful. They're stylish. They're glorious.
Yeah.
They're kind of devilish.
Yeah.
So where do you play out there?
I play at San Francisco Golf Club, which is a Tillinghast. Yeah.
Nice.
I play anywhere they let me.
And, me too.
I played quarter ball. I'm a member there, as you played there. And I'm very proud of that course. It held a women's USGA Open, which ended at, oops, that you or me?
That's you, boss.
Sorry.
God, is that you?
I can't get rid of that.
I bet you any money it's your brother.
I live in a high-tech place and I'm really low touch, you know.
Yeah.
You know who said that? We had Coach Ray, Conrad Ray, the Stanford men's golf coach. He said the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
He's a good guy, but a great coach. Great coach.
He's a really, really good guy. And we've had some my friend was his assistant for a couple of years, Ryan Jameson. JMO's now the caddy for Brandon Wu, who was a player at Stanford. So
yes.
We've had a little bit.
Stanford.
We got a little Stanford, and then him too.
Yeah.
We got a little Stanford connection here.
So do you think being a good player yourself, did that help you with your designing business?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this with any disrespect, but there are people who can bake a beautiful cake, but they may forget to put the sugar in the icing. It may look good.
I'm not forgetting the sugar in my icing, baby.
but my point is, it may look good till you bite into it. The true test of whether it's a great piece of architecture is not how it looks, it's how it plays. And you can it's both, but primarily a serious player can almost see the course through his hands. He can feel whether he's had a good divot after he's struck a ball. And he doesn't have to look up. He knows where the ball's going. An expert, a single-digit player. So I think that's important when you're playing well, that you are rewarded. You're not punished oddly. And second, if you're not playing well or not thinking well, you are in trouble. You have to work hard and grind it out during that day. And then there's always the variable weather on any given day, which adds interest. I hope that the best courses that we've done are intriguing and invite you back, and you want to go back and play it again because they're almost in reach. They didn't quite get, I could get another shot. They're not punishing. They're not what we call play at once courses, where it's so punishing you don't want to go back, or it's so boring it's kind of let's go try something else. Overall, I think intriguing and engages your mind, your golfer's mind, as well as your shot making abilities. And your sociability is where I want to play.
So what course have you done that you think is the hardest to play?
Hardest to play?
Yeah.
Most difficult?
Most difficult.
Well, when you work at the highest end of the game, as we have, the most, it's like a first violinist working in Beethoven's symphonies or something. It's really a different world. So that when you're working with a purpose-built course like Chambers Bay, for the USGA in an interaction relation with Mike Davis, who's very, very knowledgeable about architecture. There's a huge dialogue back and forth, and that golf course can be made very difficult. It's very long, 7,800 yards in the back tees if you use it all. It depends on the weather of the day. It depends on seasonal. It was very firm and hard. The ball would run out, but it's very wide and big. And ironically, DJ, after he did three-putted to lose the Open to
Spieth
2015, he told me within an hour afterwards that he loved the golf course, even though he three-putted. He didn't. That was not the issue, because he could hit the ball and it would big distances. And he said, "I'd make $1 million a week here if I played this course." So yet it was about the short game that got him, not the long game. So a golf course that tests both your length, your strength, your mind, and your short game is a true championship level. And I think at Chambers Bay, the actual championship itself was a great success. The agronomy was a little suspect, and that's been corrected. But on the back nine on Sunday, and I walked it there were 6 players who any one of whom could win the tournament, and 3 times the lead changed among 3 of them 3 times. So it was a hunt. And the players tell me at that level, when they're playing for a national championship, the Open or the British Open, or we call it British Open, the Open or the US Open, they really, their athleticism gets up when there's a hunt. So on the one hand, it's a very difficult course for the average player if you played all the way back. On the other hand, it brought out the best of the players of the best of the world in the championship edition.
So what's it like having a major championship hosted at one of your courses? Is it nerve-wracking? Is it a sense of pride? I mean, obviously, when you're building it, you see it played a certain way, right?
Well, they played the US Amateur there in 2010. And when they first announced it as a possible open venue, I was ecstatic. That's like getting the Academy
Right.
Award in business. If you have a U.S. Open and you're an American, that is the Academy
Right.
Award. The last time an original course was named a U.S. Open was Hazeltine. So my father, that's 40 years earlier, and hadn't had there was a lot of open doctorate courses. My father and my brother were called the open doctorate courses, were updated, but original works for an open, that's as good as it gets in my world.
That's cool.
Wow.
That's awesome.
I'm trying to just figure out what it kind of reminds me of, like when I go to Chick-fil-A and I get an extra chicken nugget, you know, instead of getting the 6-pack, I get 7. Yeah. That's how I equate that to. But, you know, this is a question for Ben, and you might be able to answer this too, Bob, is as a player, do all players want to design courses like when they're done? Because I mean, there's only a handful. I mean, Weisskopf playing the PGA Tour, Nicholas, obviously, Palmer. I know I'm missing some
Well,
guys,
I think when you're young, I did, but as grown older, you realize how hard it is and how difficult it is. And it takes more, and I'm sure Robert can attest, it takes more than just his eye or the player's eye, right? It takes a whole team of people and the people that you're working with. But yeah, I mean, you always, hey, I wish take this bunker out or add something here or do something here. But I mean, that's the beauty of golf too, right? You could, one person can love it, the next person may not.
It's
like
all subjective. It's like anything, right? It's like wine.
But that's what makes it, I think, so unique and different. And you can have a unique debate about it, right? But yeah, I think you always think of it that way. But I mean, you understand how difficult that is.
Well, somebody once asked me how many golf architects are there, and I answered him by saying, "How many golfers are there?" Everybody has it.
Right, exactly.
And the Greens chairman, the 3 most dangerous words in golf: Greens committee chairman.
Yeah.
They want to change everything. They plant a tree, they want to take a tree out, and they want to tweak things. That's not necessarily wrong as long as they have some professional stuff with them. But a lot of golf architecture is what you don't see. Like in the structural buildings, you don't see the electric wires which light your lights, so you don't see the plumbing that takes care of your sink. And in golf architecture, you don't see the irrigation system or the drainage or the soil mechanics. And believe me, that's as important as what you play on, because otherwise you can't condition the course. So architecture is not just what you see, it's what you don't see as well. It's technical.
That's very well said. Because you put the drains in the wrong spot. It could, ruin a hole, or, hey, we're hitting it here, but why is it so wet? It hasn't rained here in a while. Well, because it's not draining, right? Or something like that. Just little, the minor details gets kind of overlooked.
Yeah.
So
I think this is a good spot.
Yeah.
So I love the title of your show, Corks. So obviously you got some wine in mind, and that's kind of important for.
Yeah. So what do you like? So this podcast is brought to you by Keenan Vineyards. I actually own a wine distributorship and sell a lot of wine in your neck of the woods in Napa and Sonoma. So do you like wine, Robert?
Yes. In fact, I drink it as much as I drink a lot of good wines from around here. And I even wrote a poem about wine at one point. So.
Oh yeah. So what are some of your favorites?
Well, I usually whatever somebody hands me that really tastes good.
That's like, this is why he keeps coming back. Because he walked in, I handed him some stuff this morning.
Yeah.
Like,
so in terms of types of wine, I was a red wine drinker, but as I get older, I tend toward more the whites.
Yeah.
And I will try anything once, like, but not, but probably not the rot gut of my college days. But that's
true for all of us.
But I like Wente wines in this area.
Yep. Livermore. Yep.
I actually helped Mouton Cadet from France when they sponsored the Hazeltine, and the word cadet in French means caddy or cadet, and so I drew a label for myself as a caddy for my father at Hazeltine, just for fun, the sketch. I like the sketch. So I think the terroir, as they call it, the land itself is what makes great wines, the mineralization in it, from what I'm told. Mm-hmm. And by the way, that's also true of what makes great grass. If the land is sandy loam and it's maintained well, you're going to get better turf. So there's some similarities between viticulture and agriculture and for turf.
Yeah.
Did you design the course at Winty? Don't they have a golf course?
I didn't know. Eric Wenty's a good friend of mine. In fact, they're playing today, a little course. They're playing a little tournament for the Cal Stanford game. I'm not playing. I usually play in it, but he's playing on that course with a bunch of my pals. As I remember, I think it was Weiskopf, if I'm not mistaken. No, it wasn't. It was the Shark. It was the Shark.
Oh, Greg. Yeah.
Greg designed it.
Did you know they had a golf course?
Yeah.
On their okay.
Yeah.
So
That's in Livermore, right?
yeah.
It is. Yeah, exactly correct.
I've been there actually.
Have you?
Yeah. Not the course. I went to the winery.
So as you said, we did the one at Cordoval. We did the Sometimes a winery and a golf course are paired, literally, not just food, but the golf game and the winery itself, or the vines. Cordoval is an example. Silverado, which we designed.
Right.
So in this part of the world, they go together.
Yeah,
That's
they
cool.
do. Just like you and I, Ben, we go together.
Really.
Not really.
Yeah.
So, Bob, we're gonna have you stick around. We're gonna ask you some up close, funny, personal questions.
Quick questions.
Yeah, quick questions are quick, which they never are. Thanks for joining us, Bob. We
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
That was fun.
That was a
Thank you.
blast. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Thumbs up on thumbs up on YouTube. Join us on Patreon, www.patreon.com/Clubs and Corks. And we appreciate everything. And we'll see you next week on the Clubs and Corks Golf Podcast.